200 people meet up for a fight and Goons try to headshot the FCs. That ruins the fun, right? Who is that?
Scary Pandemic Legion decided their Horde HQ was not important enough also. So they decided not to show up.
I would love to gather some, I guess for lack of a better word, like testimonials from people who were in Horde and came over about what they thought it was going to be like and what it ended up being like over here. That would be interesting information for me.
Hey everyone, there were like a ton of comments from you below my last video about whether it's worth it to join Pandemic Horde in 2024 or not. A lot of you guys really liked that video and asked me to review another alliance. Hey, it's not that easy to review a whole alliance, and it can only ever be a short point of view. It's just my impressions, and they could easily be wrong. So, for sure, my point of view can be wrong. I'm a little pirate, stealing and killing is my business, not reviewing. But think of this. Only for 1 second, as a content creator, you always get a lot of criticism if you start a short review of a 10,000 member strong alliance. But hey, it's a part of the deal, and who cares? Well, I don't care. I want to tell you guys, for sure, transparently and also honestly, about how I ended up with the Goons. For me, it's important that you understand that it went down differently than with Pandemic Horde. After the Horde video, I got a lot of messages, and hey, I tried to answer every single message, as always. But there was also an in-game message from a player named Aher Elias. Well, who's that? To be honest, I never heard of him before. He said he's the CEO of Goonswarm, and I should send him a friend request on Discord so that he can send me a message. And he told me that he had seen the Horde video and also read the comments, where a lot of you were asking if I could do a short Goons review too. And he liked the idea and asked if I was up for it, and he wants to understand what the Goons are doing well and what they can improve on. So I told him that I can do that, but I have some points. I asked him for several recording approvals, and I don't want any ISK from the Goons. I also don't want to be sponsored by the Goons. And I want to record direct messages, and I don't want any API checks. By the way, I was probably drunk. I should have really asked him for like 200 billion ISK and 2 Titan ships instead. He responded with yes, but he also said that the API had to be done because of the Goon setup. Well, who cares? So I agreed to it. I ended up in the Goon Corporation 4S, and my application was done in 2 minutes, and I was in. Once I arrived at Goons, the 4S HR director, the 4S recruiter, and the 4S CEO took care of me. I was already aware that I needed to be a bit careful. They're all very nice, polite, friendly, and accommodating. And after I read in the 4S Corp group Discord chat, I first asked the CEO why 4S constantly tries to headshot Horde FCs. 200 people meet up for a fight and Goons try to headshot the FCs. That ruins the fun, right? So the ice was broken. Well, hey, Director Gobbins from Horde already mentioned that they would treat me differently inside Goons because they knew I was coming. And of course they will. Well, maybe they will. Maybe they will not. But hey, I was aware of that and I don't care. But then I did nothing. Nothing. No fleet participation. Nothing for 4 weeks. Just absolutely nothing. They know I'm here. Always online, but always well under the radar. I've split my short reviews into 6 parts. Hey, by the way, in the last 4 weeks, none of the Goons tried to mess with anything I recorded, so everything's been taken as I recorded it, even the direct messages. Who would have guessed, right? They accept all my recordings, and they knew that the video will represent only my point of view. You know, I'm cheeky, bold, sometimes too bold, polarizing, straightforward. I'm evil. I can't be bought. Well, not until 500 billion. Do the goons know what they've gotten themselves into, bringing me down to Delph? Okay, well, however, let's dive into the first point. Bad image and change management.
We are going to utilize everything we have. In case you haven't noticed, in the environment of asset safety, I have not taken us to Saranen. I have not pulled us out of the fire. I will not pull us out of the fire because I believe that we will win this war, and I believe that we will win this war in 1DQ1.
If I'm correct, Goonswarm has significantly influenced EVE Online for many, many, many years. Their long-term CEO, Mitani, was their central leadership figure whose leadership style was extremely controversially discussed all over EVE. Well, you know, I don't know him and I never met him. I only talk to a lot of people, and to be honest, I don't really care because it doesn't affect my gameplay. And I believe that if you've been in the game for a long time, you'll have your own opinion about the Mitani. But hey, it's true that his influence within the game was immense. He created the evil in EVE Online. I like an evil gameplay, you know? But he once said on Twitter, Goonswarm, the best possible friend and the worst possible enemy. He calls himself the Goon Emperor of Delph. You know, the title of an emperor is above that of a king in terms of like rank and power. Let's have a look into now. Okay, is a Goonswarm 2.0 out there? Is there a change management in place? And is there a post-Mitani time down there in Delph? To be honest, I can't verify that. The people in the fleets were always nice to each other, so they're extremely PvP focused, and I haven't experienced any extra drama here. Of course, some of them hate Pandemic Horde, Pandemic Legion, and all the others from the north, but I did not find any extra drama during my Goon time. But in my point of view, a real new beginning and a change management can only happen with a change of the leadership team, right? Yes or no? What do you think? I asked that Aher, and he told me the changes are already done. And Aher, you remember the guy who invited me? He has, of course, been part of the Goons for many, many years. And aren't there some current Goon leaders coming from Mitani's old inner circle? Okay, I'm quite critical, but think of that. Mitani's direct reports, his leaders and his team were the people who executed his visions and his ideas of the gameplay. I heard that many Goon leaders were against Mitani in the end, but for many years, they formed Goons, right? Some of them are inside the current leadership team and are still in place. Is this enough for a new vision? You know, I don't really care. What matters to me is having fun in the game. Too much politics really distracts from the enjoyment of the game, and I only just wanted you to take a moment to think about it. And by the way, in EVE, there's no democracy. Every CEO is essentially a dictator, let's say a warlord. Whether good or bad, the players follow them. A true democracy, I haven't really found one in EVE, to be honest. Did you? So I asked Aher directly if something had changed, and he said the Mitani was asked to resign and Aher is running the Goons now. He has changed a lot and a new vision and a new direction is in place. I'm asking him what's the new mission, and Aher, valuing the creation of memorable experiences for his members, a kind of story making for his members. He's seeing this as fundamental to build a strong community, and Aher believes that every member deserves to experience such moments and commits to the extensive logistical and planning work required behind the scenes to achieve this. So what he's saying, you know, sounds good, and it's an extremely good approach. Whether it's true or not, I can't say. But hey, if it's true, Is there a new Goonswarm Federation forming? Will the negative image be gone? Will Goons be able to have such a big impact in the future like they had under Mitani's leadership? I mean, the hype and the new Goon world is real. If you want to be a part of it, join them. Go for it. The good old dark side, the evil, change management, a new beginning. They're exciting new times here in Delph. And at the end of the day, Aher told me who the bad guys in EVE are.
My feeling about renting is the same, and that's why would you come and play a video game and decide to be a virtual landlord? I don't get it. I would never want to do that. Pappy control 75% of the space, and they rent it out for profit. And we don't do that because we're here to play this game to enjoy it, to have fun. So in the way that they are a bad guy, it's the most banal and boring form of being a bad guy.
I submitted my application and was accepted within less than 2 minutes, but hey. But don't get me wrong, that's not normal, and that's only because I was invited. The normal recruiting process at 4S is highly selective. They told me that they won't accept anyone without nullsec experience, so the 4sec recruitment process is very, very selective. But hey, at Karma Fleet, it's different. There are no restrictions, not even regarding required skill points, as the HR director of Karma Fleet informed me. So new players might have better luck applying to Karma Fleet. But to be honest, overall I find it challenging to step into Goons. You know, I asked the 4S recruiters if I would be accepted if they honestly will check my application, and the answer was no. Okay, to be honest, my application was somewhat short and cheeky. I find the background checks very intensive. In Karma Fleet's public channel, there were players who mentioned waiting for 2 weeks without any communication since their application. So I think that's quite a long time, really. What do you think? I asked twice in the channel, but unfortunately received no response, both times, and even after waiting for over an hour for a response. My feedback is simple: if a public channel exists, but no communication takes place, what's the point of the channel? However, the background checks are very intense, and it's not easy to get into Goonswarm. I prefer being able to apply today and engage in PvP tomorrow without having to wait endlessly. Goons also require a minimum number of fleet participations. With Goons, there's a very, very strong focus in place. They want to have the right people on board who truly fit, and they all full PvP focused. In that case, being with the Goons makes sense, and you're definitely in the right place. They're figuring out if the new player will be a good match to the Corp and to the Alliance, which definitely makes sense, right? Especially for your gaming experience. I mean, when you have a well-matched group of players inside your Corp, it's more fun for everybody. It's like it's like a high-performance team then, right? Whether the recruiting process is selective in Goons, whether it takes longer, none of that really matters to me. I find it much more critical that there's a public channel where you ask 3 times questions and you get no response. I mean, no response for hours. The first step should always be, if someone asks you something, answer them. So, after joining, I tried to sign up everywhere without help. I tried it. It really feels like you're back in the 90s. It took me 4 hours to get everything set up and sign up everywhere. For sure, I'm not the brightest candle on the cake, but it really takes a very, very long time. You know, I prefer plug and play. More straightforward than complicated, more in the spirit of keep it simple. The setups at Horde are also very time intense, but with the Goons I found the whole process even more intense and a bit outdated. It's crazy, anyway, that you play a game where you need countless third-party software on this side to run everything. I think this is a general problem with EVE Online, but also, to be honest, a recruiter will be there to help you. So you're not alone with the Goons IT, but for me it was important to figure out, can I make it alone without help? Next part, the pros and cons of Goonswarm. Let's start with the cons this time. The pros and cons are relatively difficult for me to say, as everyone will for sure see them maybe differently, right? For me, I'll simply share how I feel within my Goon time. As you know, I dislike long waiting times, and I find the entire recruitment process to be very lengthy and extremely selective. There are players in the public channel claiming that they're waiting for more than 2 weeks without any feedback. This can be a disadvantage, especially for new players, right? What do you guys think? I also find the Goon IT challenging. It feels like I'm back in the 90s, honestly. Hey, it takes me forever to set up everything and to navigate through it. And Jesus, there are so many different programs to sign up for. Okay, there's always someone here to help you, if needed and if you ask for help. But hey, it doesn't feel modern to me. I really prefer the keep it simple approach, but this seems to be common across many alliances here in EVE Online. Another downside is the constant fleet participation pressure. You need to hop in several fleets a month to meet a certain number of participation requirements. And I've seen players who didn't meet the minimum requirements a month, and the HR asks them very proactively, also very politely, but for sure directly, that they strongly need to hop on the next fleets. That means, that you will be permanent on the watch list. It's also important to remember that this is a game, and too many rules and regulations may ruin some fun. However, there is transparency about these mandatory fleet amounts, so you know what you're getting into from the start. And I don't think that's a Goon thing only, it's also the case with many other nullsec alliances. As I've mentioned with Horde, here at Goons 2, you're always more a follower than a creator. And when 200 people gather for a fight, one shouldn't try to continuously take out the FC via headshot. Another point of criticism is public channels, where questions go unanswered for hours. This also relates to a sense of appreciation. And I did not find an alliance standing fleet. It feels like that every corp has its own standing fleet. But let's discuss the pros. There is a change management in place. A new direction has been set. On top of it, with the CEO Aher Elias, who is also available for questions from players every Saturday. Furthermore, the Goons are extremely professional and focused on PvP. The level of professionalism in the fleets is truly incredible. Also in the complete organization, I like that. Unlike with Horde, fleet chat is mostly free from small talk and everyone is highly concentrated during fleet operations. And I've mentioned the complicated application process as a negative point, but hey, it also serves as a positive because through the strict Goon selection, they are able to form a high performance team. So the atmosphere inside Goons is quite good and people are very friendly. In the PvE area, there are no restrictions, allowing for significant earnings. And support and assistance are always available if you need it, and there are various corporations you can join depending on your experience. Karma Fleet is one with the least stringent admissions criteria, such as skill points or, nullsec experience. You can do PvP here 24/7, a major plus if you're a fan of PvP. So, if you're looking for professional PvP, Goons maybe are the right choice for you. If you can handle the fleet participation pressure and the strict rules, I'd say go for it. But if you're looking for a nullsec alliance where you can hop on fleets from time to time with a huge freedom of your own gameplay, then maybe this is not the right place for you. Hey, as you know, I've recently conducted a brief review comparing Pandemic Horde with the Goons, and I found some interesting points of comparison between the two. But I am a bit surprised. Yes, to my surprise, the difference between Horde and the Goons are not as significant as I might have expected. I think they're quite minimal, in fact. Both groups maintain their territories in nullsec. They have their SIG groups. For those who didn't know, it's the special interest groups. And they have their forums, their large fleets, and so on. One notable difference is in how they reward fleet participation. One side offers plaques as a reward, while the other compensates the ship replacement program in ISK rather than using an internal currency. However, these are only a few differences to me. The requirements for joining gated corporations and the background checks involved are very similar for both, I think. And the most significant difference between Horde and the Goons is, in my point of view, that Horde offers what I describe as a plug-and-play playstyle for players. I mean, you can apply today and start PvP tomorrow in the basic corp. Horde's non-gated corporation called Horde Inc. It goes without any background checks. And this makes Horde an ideal choice if you're looking to visit null space for like a week or two. And then, easily go back to low sec or high sec. And you can step in and out as often as you like. So it's no big deal there. But if you're more interested in focused PvP, both groups offer excellent opportunities through their various corporations. And hey, by the way, it's not uncommon for members to switch between Horde and Goons. A lot of players do that. In the debate of Horde versus Goons, there's, for me, and only for me, no clear better or worse option. I think it all comes down to personal preferences and how you wish to play the game. Both have their pros and cons, but at the end of the day, isn't that happening in every single corporation in EVE Online? I mean, what do you guys think? The fleets at Goons are very structured, and I've always found it relatively easy to follow the FC's instructions. There's always a huge will to win, means the FC want to win a battle as soon as you undock with your fleet from the station. Would I recommend the Goons? Sure, why not? If you're okay with intensive checks and the pressure to meet a certain number of fleet participations, then definitely go for it. From my perspective, these days, it's very special being with the Goons. It's a very special time, There's change management happening, a transformation, perhaps it's forming up even a whole new Goonswarm with a new direction. And if you want to be a part of a change, then Goons are also the right place for you to be. You can be a part of that transformation, for sure. And the craziest people I met in my Goon time. A corporation named Kriegsmarinewerft. And they must be Germans, So I met some of them in-game. They hired David Hasselhoff for their recruitment video. I mean, that's strange, isn't it? But however, I hope you have fun with that video and fly safe.